Welcome to the Morning Blitz with John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Captain Cool.
Hello and welcome in to a short Tipsy Tuesday here on the Morning Blitz. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. And yes, it will be extremely short. They cut us down a little bit, Bandy. We're usually an hour-long show, but for the next 3 days, if we, decide to hop on tomorrow and the day after that, we'll be rocking it for 15 minutes just to set you guys up for all of the action that's going down on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And just similar to yesterday, we will be the only local programming going down, as yesterday, of course, we were out at Atlanta Braves at Truist Park at the Battery, at, of course, the Yard House. And I got to admit, that place was amazing. I am looking like a crispy tomato, and it's wonderful to be back home, especially after that Braves loss yesterday, as they were up on the Padres, left 12 runners on base, and were not able to show for it as they lost 6-5 in that Game 3 against the Padres. But thankfully enough, they were able to shut them out 3-0 in Game 4 in that doubleheader yesterday night. Now, Bandy, we look at what we're going to get into today. And as much as I want to talk about the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs and how the conference finals are coming right around the corner, we got to talk a little bit of baseball, and the first games that are coming at you guys today on our station is going to be Georgia versus LSU. It's going to be a 6th seed going up against an 11th seed, and then, of course, Alabama versus South Carolina. So the first game I'm looking at, and I'm looking at LSU as a team, the reigning national champions, to come into this game with a little bit of oomph, a little bit of something in their step. Of course, Jay Johnson going to be coaching that team against, I believe it's West Johnson. So two guys with the same last names are going to be fighting it out. And honestly, it's surprising to see and surprising to say that LSU is actually the underdog in this matchup. But these are single elimination matchups that we're going to be seeing in day one. That means none of these teams are going to be able to play in the loser's bracket come day 2.
Yeah, I mean, and we have been seeing rumors as well that they could be moving to a double elimination format, very similar to softball in the coming years, which, I mean, for an SEC tournament and going double elimination, I would enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're starting.
Just don't bring back divisions.
Yeah, you're starting off. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. I mean, we're already moving away from it. We're just now moving away from it. Let's not move back to it.
We don't need an East and West champion.
Yeah, we don't need that. We're just gonna pick the 2 best teams. That's over in the college football scene. We see that more prominently. But in the baseball scene, we're gonna just see these teams go in a tournament bracket style. And of course, Georgia's gonna be going up against LSU at 9:30. So that game's right around the corner. The preview for that one starts at 9:15. The preview for the entire SEC baseball tournament is going to start at 9:15, and then you guys will be able to rock with some baseball all day long, live from Hoover Metropolitan Complex over in Hoover, Alabama.
That makes sense.
It really sets up the second matchup, which is going to be the Alabama Crimson Tide as the 7th seed going up against South Carolina. And right now, what we're looking at for Rob Vaughn is a decent season. His first year, of course, as the Alabama Crimson Tide head coach, going up against a South Carolina squad that has been good and bad at the same time. That's the majority of the teams in the SEC, where it's just such a challenging conference to really play and succeed in that, you see them win these big series, and then they go up against some other squads and they don't find the best of times and they get shut out and all that stuff.
Not exactly ending the season on a high note.
Yeah.
Ending the regular season on a high note. But I mean, the South Carolina team, what have we seen from teams that have like their worst moments at the very tail end of a season?
No, they usually succeed.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And especially in these tournaments, you give your guys a little bit of – and a majority of these teams are making it to the NCAA tournament as well, similar to the, of course, the softball side of things. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun, okay? I don't think we're going to get 13 SEC squads, okay? There's obviously 14 teams when it comes to the baseball compared to softball, as Vanderbilt does not have a team, and we've talked about that extensively. But for South Carolina, Mark Kingston's going to try and get this team really on a roll against the Crimson Tide. But it's really just a gimme. I can't say that either of these teams are going to be an underdog. Alabama has, shown us that they can play against the top teams in the country. They've beaten Tennessee in a series of 3. They faced off against Arkansas at home, and they were able to beat them as well Texas A&M then, comes and destroys them in the series of 3. So it's really back and forth for this squad. And then, of course, ending off the season not too hot against an Auburn squad that was just able to get a few extra SEC wins before the end of the year. Definitely good for them, but Alabama definitely pushed them back a little bit when it came to the tournament bracket. But then looking at bracket 2 later on in the day at 4:30, Vanderbilt as the 8th seed is going to be going up against the 9th seed Florida squad. Again, a SEC team that made it to the NCAA championship last year and faced off against LSU just to kind of turn around and have a lackluster season. Again, it's just that competition that you're going up against within the SEC. And then later on to finish out today's games is going to be Mississippi State, the 5 seed, going up against Ole Miss.
Ooh, you got the Egg Bowl in baseball.
Yeah, I love seeing these teams play. Whenever I see them play in any sport, it's similar to whenever Alabama's facing off against Auburn, of course, the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl of any other sport. It's very entertaining to watch because the tension's going to be high. Not because these teams have really been at each other's throats all season, but because there's tradition behind it, and that's what we love. But it's going to be a 5 seed going up against the 12 seed, so that's going to be a large stretch, and we're going to see if Ole Miss is going to be able to be up to the competition, as of course they're playing up against a very good Mississippi State team that just kind of, there's a drop-off, all right? There's the Kentuckys, there's the Arkansas, the Tennessee, the Texas A&Ms. These teams were absolutely stellar all season long, able to really own the SEC. And then there was that Mississippi State team that was kind of on the line. We thought Alabama would be able to challenge them. That was not the case. We thought that other squads like Georgia were able to challenge them. That was not the case. Mississippi State was just kind of in the middle because they did lose some series throughout the season. That's a little questionable. But at the same time, we're talking about SEC baseball, the parity, similar to the NBA, similar to, I'd say college basketball, has been kind of all over the place with who's really going to show out at the end of the season. And to see Kentucky up here, Bandy, it's like the odd team out, even though they are really good. They have won a majority of their games. It's still kind of strange because it's been a little bit silent on Kentucky's side of things. But we'll have to wait until Wednesday to see who wins this Georgia-LSU matchup to face off against Kentucky. And then Alabama and South Carolina, one of those teams will win and move on against Arkansas. And that'll be tomorrow as well. And that'll be a game where if they lose, then they'll have to move on and go into the losers bracket against another losing squad.
Yeah.
Now, if you look down later, we could be set up for another Tennessee-Vanderbilt series. That would be great to see. If Vanderbilt can beat Florida, they'll move on to play number 1 seed at Tennessee. If Florida wins, it'll be a 9 versus a 1. It'll be a huge stretch, but we would love to see what could happen there if Florida can really get back going, especially late in the season. And then, of course, Texas A&M has that 4th seed. They're going to have a bye today, but tomorrow they'll continue their action in that Game 8 matchup against either Mississippi State or Ole Miss. It's going to be a Mississippi team. I think that's all we know, Bandy. And if you guys are wondering, by the way, where my are we streaming on WZZN TV?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I mean,
of course we are.
It's a quick 15-minute stream right here. If you guys are wondering, I just wanted to throw this out here. Where the red bottle is, okay? I've switched it out now with a brand new bottle that I got actually from the golfing tournament presented by Eagle Insulation. And the one at home, don't worry, he's not too upset because now he's being used as my backup. Okay, I got that dad joke out of the way. I'm going to move on. This show has been presented by the wonderful people over at Fleming Roofing and Restoration. The guys you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. If you're having any roofing problems, make sure you look them up online at FlemingHSV.com to fill out your free quote today. Bandy, we're almost out of here.
We are almost out of here. But they always show up.
But they always show up, guys. They always show up.
But I got a question for you.
What?
We have a little bit of time left.
Okay.
We ran down the SEC baseball.
Yes,
what all you can expect. Mm-hmm. How'd you feel about the Oilers taking Game 7 yesterday?
Ooh, let me tell you, Oilers were cooking, and me and John actually we played a little bit of the new NHL game, NHL 24, and we were actually the Canucks going up against the Oilers.
Okay. I gotta admit, they made it a little interesting there in the third.
At the end, they definitely did because the Oilers took a 3-0 lead, took that all the way to the end. They were playing at home, of course. It was big, high energy for Edmonton, but then the Canucks are able to score 2 quick ones in the third, get it close. Then the goalie's pulled now for Edmonton or for the Canucks, and it got really dicey at the end. But thankfully enough, the Oilers will advance to play up against the Dallas Stars in their conference finale. And golly, Bandy, there's a lot of intrigue around everything that's going on in this playoffs, whether it's the NBA, NHL. Love to see it. I will say, though, okay, yesterday, I just wanted to throw this out here because yesterday was a fun time from the Battery. I got to say, it was the loudest remote I've ever done. I've got to admit, I've done games, all right, where the crowds are really loud, of course, for Sparkman, Bandy, we've done them for, of course, Buckhorn Boys basketball.
Yep.
But whenever you're actually trying to do a show, so I have respect for the Tom Abraham, for the rest of the squads that do these types of remotes from these loud areas all the time. Gotta say, I could not think. The Atlanta Braves band came out, and my mind went scrambled, okay? But it's still a wonderful time. Still a wonderful time. Whew. All right, 15 minutes up. We'll probably be back for 15 minutes tomorrow. Keep the previews going. And why not? We'll keep it going on Thursday as well. And then Friday, we'll be back for some full morning Blitz action. And we appreciate you guys for hopping on. For me and the Bandiman, we're going to hop out of here. We got work to do. But you guys, sit back, relax, listen to the SEC baseball all day long, brought to you by 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. For me and the Bandiman, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and peace out.
Everything you need is